This morning, I'm joined by Governor Josh Green. Good morning, Governor. Thanks for being here.
Good morning.
And, it's been a little bit since we first spoke with you, and we want to get your take on several of our top stories this morning. We're going to start with Maui Recovery. Since the last time you were here, the ATF report was released. So we learned that the flames were started from those downed power lines. How do you foresee that information shaping some legislation in this next session?
So it was a very important report. It's in 3 parts. This was the second and probably the most meaty part of the report. It showed us all the things that caused the fire. So this is going to inform how we recover and protect ourselves going forward. So there'll be a lot of fortification of the poles. There will be some undergrounding of wires, we believe. We're going to make sure that we have a lot of extra escape routes, and the fire escape routes are being cut by the Department of Transportation and Ed Sniffin's team. There are hundreds of recommendations, and they're going to all be incorporated into asks for resources on Maui. Very big deal that we get those good recommendations, and it's helpful.
And of course, I know Maui County will have some open sessions this week, workshops for the community as they're looking forward to rebuilding Lahaina. And of course, all of that information to help create better routes of escape. Should something happen in the future, those are all things that need to be taken into consideration.
Right. As they do permitting on Maui, they're going to be very thoughtful about not having the density exceed what is safe. One of the challenges we had was over the decades, a lot of houses had kind of clustered and built on top of one another, and you had lots of families there with many, many cars on small roads. And then, the heartbreak of all heartbreaks, those cars got trapped during the fire. So that's one thing that the mayor is very thoughtful about. Also, transitional housing. We've committed to 1,044 transitional houses. Plus, the mayor is going to expedite the rebuild of housing deep in Lahaina for families that both were owner-occupiers. And then the settlement is a very big deal, and the Supreme Court will opine in the coming weeks about whether or not people should be made whole first, rather than the insurers being able to claw back hundreds of millions of dollars. And I'm hopeful that all that money will go to the local people, because that's over $4 billion of recovery money. We wanted to flip the script. Normally only about 1/3 to 40% of monies go back to a community after a fire because of costs. We want it to be more than 2/3, and that looks like it'll happen.
And let's talk about the eviction moratorium. Do you have any updates on that?
I do. You'll be the first to hear it. So a lot of people have been asking me over the last several months, when do we lift the eviction moratorium and begin to get back to normal? We looked at it very carefully, and what we're going to do is respect the people in Lahaina and Maui and wait until after the new year, so that they now have another couple months, about 2 months, to work out any of their back rent, to make sure that they have gotten on the same page as their landlords. So that will likely be lifted right after the new year. Now, in addition to lifting the eviction moratorium, so people don't get quickly moved out of their homes, there'll be a process. There'll be a mediation process that will be fully set up with the courts, so we can protect people as long as they've been behaving in good faith, because people were traumatized. We don't want them to lose their houses. Now, having said all that, we want to return the housing market gradually to normal. That's why the transitional houses, the mayor building, and getting rentals back.
And of course, you will be back with us before that will be lifted. So we'll have more of those details for all of you as we move towards that date.
Yes.
But I do want to stay on Maui, because a few weeks ago, we talked about the filling of the lo'ea role in Maui, which is designated for an expert in traditional customary water practices, rights, and management. The position has been empty, and you guys recently restarted the application process. I should say the state recently restarted the application process. Can you tell us why and where we are today? Any updates?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple things. So I did put in a new seaworm director. That's the water lead, and much love and respect over to Kaleo Manuel after, we had a little bit of a bumpy road there. He's moved over to Kamehameha School, so that's a great thing. Now we have a Native Hawaiian woman in that role. She was one of the Deputy Attorney Generals. She's fantastic. Now, on this specific cultural position, what happened was, I was given 4 names. The first name, who I thought was good, didn't kind of meet the standard by some of the activist community on Maui and the water rights community. And so that person was not chosen. Then the second person got spooked because of the process, and they pulled their name out, leaving only 2 names. And both those 2 people are very good, but they were creating a lot of, in the community, kind of conflict. And I don't want conflict, because I want us to have good water practices for our local community and build housing. So I couldn't just do it with those two names, so we're going to get a third and fourth name, and then we'll choose. And I'll just say this, great people apply, but it can't be all on one side or the other side, right? In order for Maui to move forward, it has to be someone that can generate some compromise, and that's been the problem for a long time. But we do have the Seaworm director in, and we will help Maui's Mayor Bisson, move forward on housing.
Do we have a deadline on when we're hoping to narrow those 4 names down and hopefully put somebody into that role?
Yes, I'm supposed to have the name by October 30th, and then I'll expedite it really quickly. And I just want everyone to understand it's not going to be a perfect choice, because people who are very, very passionate about all of the water being returned to streams and the Ahupua'a, that's difficult. And people who are very passionate about building lots of housing and doing developments, that requires maybe too much water in some cases. So I have to have compromise, and honestly, that's one of the tough parts about being governor, because I really respect both sides of the argument, but it's rare that you can satisfy everyone's desire.